You may have noticed it in the quiet moments, when the room is filled with laughter and conversation, yet you feel apart even if only slightly. Perhaps you are sitting in a cafe, a friend talking animatedly across the table, while your mind moves through thoughts that seem distant, intricate, layered. There is a subtle awareness, a noticing that you are present and yet somewhere else too. Somewhere inside, quietly, you are thinking, observing, reflecting in ways that feel invisible to others. It is not a sudden feeling. It is not dramatic. It arrives softly, almost imperceptibly, in glances that linger, in pauses where you notice the spaces between words, in the gentle rhythms of thought that others may not hear. You may notice a pull inward, a quiet solitude that is different from loneliness. It is deeper, reflective, almost companioned by your own awareness, but it carries weight nonetheless. Perhaps you remember early experiences of this difference. When you were younger, it may have felt easier to talk about the world in abstractions, ideas, or questions that others found difficult to follow. You may have sensed that your inner life was more complex, more layered than those around you. Conversations sometimes felt shallow, as if the surface could not hold the currents running beneath your awareness. You learned to move carefully, to adjust your tone, to share just enough to be understood, and in doing so, you learned the quiet art of partial expression. There is a distinct rhythm to deep thinking. Ideas, questions, possibilities, they arise before the mind can fully express them. Sometimes you speak, sometimes you pause, sometimes you retreat inward, letting thought flow in silence. In these silent stretches, you may notice a subtle ache, the awareness that the world moves with a different tempo, that others may not pause in the same way, may not notice the same nuances. The sensation is delicate, almost imperceptible, yet persistent. You may have found ways to adapt. You have learned to read social cues, to anticipate conversational rhythms, to meet others halfway while carrying your deeper awareness quietly within. You may notice your body responding even before you speak, shoulders tightening subtly, a quiet holding of breath, a micro-adjustment of posture. These patterns are not failures. They are coherent strategies that allow you to navigate a world that does not always move at your speed. This attunement comes at a cost. Energy is expended in subtle ways, observing, adjusting, reframing, translating thought into forms that others can engage with. Even when social interactions are smooth, even when laughter and smiles are exchanged, a quiet fatigue may settle in. You may notice it after gatherings, when your mind hums with reflections and details that others seem to forget. This is the experience of depth, a richness of perception paired with a subtle, almost invisible strain. You may also notice that solitude is both a refuge and a mirror. Alone, your thoughts move freely, connections between ideas appear, and nuances of feeling can be explored without interruption. Yet this freedom can magnify the awareness of difference. In solitude, there is clarity, but also the subtle sense that the world beyond your inner life may not fully recognize or accommodate your rhythm. The duality of reflection and difference forms a quiet tension, sometimes comforting, sometimes heavy. Awareness of this pattern is the first step toward gentle understanding. Recognizing that your depth of thought carries both insight and isolation allows perspective. You are not fundamentally disconnected, nor are you failing at connection. You are attuned differently, perceiving layers that others may overlook. This is coherent, human, and reflective, a rhythm that carries its own logic and structure. You may observe that deep thinking influences relationships. You may gravitate toward conversations that invite reflection, curiosity, and nuance, and sometimes feel fatigue with those that do not. You may notice that your mind moves faster than the conversational tempo of those around you, or that subtleties of meaning are lost in translation. These are natural experiences of perception and difference. They are not flaws. They are reflections of a mind attuned to depth. There is a delicate balancing act in social spaces. You may hold back insights until they feel understood, or offer reflections carefully, aware that they might be received differently than intended. You may notice the quiet calibration of tone, timing, and content, a constant, almost unconscious management of presence. This careful attention is adaptive. It is the work of inhabiting spaces that were not built for your tempo and it is coherent with your perceptual depth. And yet, deep thinking can cultivate profound awareness of others. You may notice unspoken currents, subtle emotional shifts, or implicit tensions that pass unnoticed by many. Your attunement allows empathy, insight, and perception. What might sometimes feel like isolation is also a capacity, the ability to perceive, to reflect, to understand layers of meaning that others may miss. These capacities are strengths born from subtle adaptation, even if they bring quiet fatigue. Moments of clarity often arrive in reflection, not action. Perhaps in solitude, walking in nature, or sitting quietly, you notice the way your thoughts unfold, observing patterns, connections, and contrasts. In these moments, awareness can be gentle. You may notice the rhythm of your breath, the way your body shifts, and the subtle pleasure of simply inhabiting your own mind without expectation. This quiet recognition can soften the ache of difference. You may also notice that deep thought fosters self-compassion. Awareness of your own mental processes, of the ways you navigate social rhythms and internal currents, allows patience with yourself. You may observe fatigue without judgment, differences without shame, sensitivity without guilt. This is the subtle gift of reflection, understanding your patterns as coherent, human, and valid. Recognition opens choice. You may see opportunities to inhabit spaces differently, to adjust the tempo of engagement, to share insights with intention rather than obligation. Awareness allows you to discern where energy can be spent meaningfully and where solitude may provide clarity and restoration. Reflection grants agency. Recognition grants perspective. There is also relief in noticing that depth need not be a burden. You may find quiet joy in perceiving layers others overlook, in connecting with ideas, patterns, and feelings that exist beneath surface chatter. Difference does not require correction. It invites presence. The fatigue of attunement is not weakness. It is the subtle echo of complexity, perception, and engagement. Finally, there is grounded hope. You may carry your depth with care, noticing that isolation is not a verdict, nor a permanent state, but a natural rhythm of being attuned. You may allow yourself to inhabit both social spaces and reflective solitude, finding balance in rhythm rather than obligation. Awareness provides clarity. Reflection provides patience. Recognition provides reassurance. And in inhabiting your depth consciously, you discover a subtle alignment. You are perceptive, coherent, and safe, and this understanding is enough.